Hey guys, this is Matt Butterick. This is my final project. So I am currently doing it over where I work at JEKYLL Brewing. So this is actually a very interesting topic for me since I am dealing with the inventory every single day here. I deal with shipping and receiving, and a lot of my job is very hindered at the moment. But will hopefully help me and the company figure out the best way to do it. So this is an inventory evaluation, uh, just on becoming more efficient. So not just time efficient and space efficient and just employee efficient at this. So just to start with a little history of JEKYLL Brewing. So there was the first known brewery in the Deep South, as we called it. So in the colonial 13 colonies, usually the below South Carolina and whatnot. There was a brewery on Jekyll Island. It was founded by Major Horton in 1738. So this brewery was actually established for the purpose of mainly survival. So at the time, a lot of the colonists were getting dysentery from bacteria in the water, and Major Horton was under Oglethorpe at the time and decided, well, if we're going to be here and be miserable with the gnats and the heat, then we might as well drink our ale. Since you do have to boil water to brew beer, this actually got all the impurities. So now everyone wasn't sick and miserable, but instead they were all intoxicated. So they actually moved the brewery off the mainland onto Jekyll Island at that time, just to make sure that no one tried to plunder or take the beer. So the actual JEKYLL Brewing, where I work, was established in 2013 by Michael Lundmark and Josh Rachel. So it's founded in Alpharetta. We are still in the same location as of now, though it is much larger than when it first began. So it was actually one of the first breweries located in the suburbs of Atlanta, which was huge. I don't know if anyone is aware, but there was most of the breweries in the Atlanta area were actually within the 285 perimeter, which is what most people consider the city. And this was the first one to really branch out and say, hey, let's go hang out with the suburbs, where most of the people actually live on the weekends. So that was a pioneering thing for them. So a little bit more. So when they actually started, they went on to Kickstarter, which it's kind of like a GoFundMe, but Kickstarter is more for products and whatnot. So it's a donation campaign website for products. They were able to raise just under $35,000 in just 3 weeks. I believe their target was 20,000 in 3 or 4 months. So obviously they hit that one out of the park. But their goal has been to continually push the envelope on new brew tactics and quality. They're intensely focused on handcrafting sophisticated beers from the finest ingredients. So it's not your necessarily easy to find or most common beers. So these are going to be a lot of beers with unique tastes and a little bit more enjoyable than the regular Joe Schmo beer. So we definitely have our core beers here. So just to name a few, and these are the ones that I'll be focusing on and really pulling the numbers from for this project. So our Hot Dang Diggity, which is an IPA or an Indian Pale Ale. Southern Juice, which is also an IPA. Our Big Creek Kolsch, which is a Kolsch style ale, a German style. A Cooter Brown Ale, which is a brown ale. Then our Pineapple Habanero Hot Dang Diggity, my personal favorite. So it's actually a play off of our regular Hop Dang Diggity IPA. The Tart Vice, which is a sour, our JEKYLL Lager, and then our American Pale Ale. There is no A, it is American. All right, so the problem that has really occurred here. So as of right now, we are currently canning to order. which has caused us to miss multiple orders throughout the year. So this was something that at the beginning of the semester I started noticing when I had an opportunity for this project. I really wanted to focus on how can we be more efficient and not miss out. Because if you miss out on orders, you miss out on money. You miss out on money, that's not good. So when you miss out on an order, this has been known to hinder the production efficiency, obviously. But when it comes to a brewery, you have to think, where's this beer that hasn't been canned yet going to be? So here we have 12 tanks, and if the beer hasn't been either kegged or canned, it remains in the tank. So if it remains in the tank, that takes up space. So when it takes up space, that's space where new beer can't go. So this really ended up leading into a problem when you need one beer, but there's still a beer in a tank that you haven't been able to get out yet. So obviously it piles up and creates a huge problem. So well, the first information that I was able to gather was I want to know our annual production as far as cases of beer, and a case is 24 cans. So a case is 24 cans. So obviously our number one seller here has been Hop Dang Diggity, our staple IPA. It's been around since day one, I believe. So this just kind of gives you a quick rundown of numbers. Obviously, some go up, some go down, some stay relatively the same as in Cooter Brown. Also, I would like to mention that Tart Weiss Lager and American as of 2019 have been discontinued. So you'll slowly kind of see where they've been phased out between 17 and 18 as well. So starting with what I wanted to attack, there wasn't really a basis to go off of. So when it came to our inventory, it was more, let's just look and see how it works out. So with that, it turns into chaos essentially. So I wanted to really establish a basic EOQ and ROP just so we can kind of start somewhere, and that's what this project really focused on. So even though it doesn't look like a lot, there was a lot of digging out of information. So we started off with our total setup cost. We needed to figure out what that was, and for us, we have part-time production workers. So they come in, they work for a certain amount per hour, just part-time, mostly retired or college students. So we have our setup cost of 128, and then I had to figure out our actual carrying cost because we didn't know what the carrying cost was. So I had to give a value to our space on pallets within our inventory. So it ended up actually becoming 52% of our setup cost was our carrying cost. So with all this information, I was able to figure out what 2017's EOQ was and our ROP was. I'll move on. And then, so this is where our average daily sales and lead times. So obviously, once again, Hop Dang Diggity, Southern Juice, top sellers. Then Cooter Brown was right there in the middle with the three that were phasing out at the bottom. This was the actual comparison from 2017 to the most recent, so 2018. In 2018, you can tell like Hop Dang Diggity's going up, Pineapple Habanero's going up. There's gonna be a need to be more efficient with our inventory. Right now, we are not there. We haven't been able to handle that. So this project was a good way for me to jump into that. Here's 2018's setup with our EOQ and RPO or ROP. So our setup cost is the same. Our annual case demand is almost doubled for some, like Hopdang. Our unit cost stays the same, but this way, hopefully going into 2019, we have a better idea of what's going to happen. So now we're actually starting to look at our reorder points a little more carefully. And now that I'm aware of it, I can, since I'm the one dealing with inventory, I can bring that to the attention. Here's the average daily sales and lead times for 2018. The lead times are the same. And just for lead times, when it comes to beer, obviously it has to be brewed. So it has to be brewed and then transferred to a certain fermenter. It has to be dry hopped. It then has to be taken up to a certain temperature, dropped down to a certain temperature, or crashed, as we call it. Then it actually has to be transferred over to a certain tank and carbonated. So that's why these lead times are a little bit longer than most products may be. And some of them differ. The different styles of beer, obviously, dictate what the lead times might be. All right, so just in conclusion, with this whole project not being super in depth, the biggest things here were establishing a basis that we could go off of. So really establishing an EOQ, an ROP. This will let us begin to really dive in and figure out and fix the problems that are here with our inventory. If you expect to grow, you need to learn how to grow in other ways as well. So everyone that I've spoken with or talked to during the duration of this project, they're all super excited for us to continue to evaluate our canning process and just be more efficient with our time and space. Once we start seeing signs of progress with canning, there's already been talks about going into our kegging process, our bottling process, and even to the top where it all starts, our brewing process. So I'm very excited about what this project is meant for our company, not only myself, but I'll actually be presenting all the information that I've gathered over the past couple months and really put out into the charts you guys saw with Mike and Josh later on this week. So hopefully I'll have some good news, and hopefully we can figure out how to save some more money, because everybody loves more money. But I just want to move on and say thanks. These are my sources and also my coworkers. So thanks to Mike, our CEO and president, Josh, our co-owner and brewmaster, Jessica Ransom, huge part in this. She's our operations and logistics manager, so most of my numbers, they came through her. Dan, our packaging director, so he is actually the guy who does all the canning here, along with the part-time guys, but very tough job. And then Brett, he's our director of the cellarman. When I say cellarman, so he is the cellarman, so he is the director of himself. But he pretty much takes care of all the beer after it's brewed and before it's canned or kegged. So all the in between he takes care of. But just want to say a huge thank you to those guys for being my sources. And to you guys, cheers.